So I want to share something really important with you because a lot of people deal with pain, chronic pain, and pain is something that just really bothers all of us. When we have pain, we just want to get rid of it, and we want to get rid of it right away because it's hard to even think clear when you have pain. But there's other angles of where pain comes from where a lot of people just don't understand. And when you get to the point where you have acute pain that turns into chronic pain, you really have to start digging very deeply below the surface to see where is this pain coming from. And what a lot of people don't know is that pain can come from emotions. Now, there's something that really starts to happen in the body when we start to feel certain emotions and we start to suppress the emotions and we start to even repress those emotions. Now, when I say suppress, I mean that we do it consciously, like we know that we are trying our best to avoid these emotions, not to think about these emotions. And when I say emotions, by the way, it could be anything from anger, frustration, anxiety, fear, any level of torment, trauma type emotions that, the body just and the mind just really don't want to really think about. Okay. And believe it or not, like we have a lot of stress in our life. Like we go through a lot of stress from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed at night. And stress accumulates over time. It really does. It accumulates and then our emotions start to get attached to it because it's weighing down on our mind, our body, and our soul. And it's just something that starts to happen within us. And it makes us start to have feelings and thoughts that are connected to what we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I always say that people have to find ways to really de-stress because, again, stress doesn't just go away. All right. It doesn't just the same switch that turns on stress doesn't turn it off. You have to turn on another switch to really de-stress and to really recover. Okay, so when this starts to happen and we accumulate emotions just from life, from stress is stress. It's not always bad stress. It's, our bodies are made to handle a certain amount of stress to be able to survive. But at the end of the day, again, it all still accumulates. And if we're not doing anything to really recover and restore, then it's going to start to cause havoc in our bodies. So again, we go back to these emotions that we start to feel that we suppress because we don't want to think about them. And then there are times that we even repress those emotions. And what that means is that it's subconscious. We don't know that we're even doing it. We're so used to doing it. We've gotten in the habit of suppressing them that now it goes to just that's a part of our lives and we don't even think about it, but that's just what we do. When you do something over and over and over again, it becomes like autopilot. You're going to just naturally do it. And so when you do that, what happens to the body is you start to restrict blood flow to certain parts of the body. And we all know that we feel a lot of stress in our shoulders and our back and our neck and, in those type of areas. So a lot of times the restriction of blood flow will go to those particular areas or won't go to those particular areas. And then all of a sudden our body responds with the feeling of pain. And so now we're thinking about the pain. And even if we get mad at the pain, sometimes it's just a detour to not deal with the emotions that we're feeling. We might be mad at somebody else. Have you ever been mad? And, you're just having a bad day. You're mad at somebody and then you hit your foot and then you get mad that you hit your foot, but you're really not mad you hit your foot. You're just mad and you have a point of reference of who you're mad at. And it just kind of gets detoured to that area because that's the only way that you feel like you can get it out. Well, that's what happens with pain. Pain comes because of the restriction of blood flow to these areas. And then all of a sudden we're thinking about the pain more than we're thinking about the fact that we have to deal with these emotions that are causing us to avoid the very thing that we should be thinking through and processing through and just releasing. And again, that's a form of de-stress. That's a form of recovering, for ourselves and for our well-beings. And so a lot of times, and I've dealt with this myself, a lot of times people deal with chronic back pain, okay? They deal with a lot of back pain that they just can't get rid of. And I know that for sure because I've had this happen to me where I've had chronic back pain before. And that's not something that's enjoyable at all because it's hard to sleep. It's hard to be mobile. It's hard to do the things that you really enjoy doing sometimes, like even with exercising. And then you're compensating doing all these other things when you're still not dealing with the psychological roots of where this pain is coming from. And so what you need to start doing if you're experiencing pain in these areas is you need to first address any emotional turmoil that you might have going on in you. And a lot of times there's different ways you can get stabilizing your emotions through like meditation, therapy, writing and journaling. That's one thing that really you're able to express yourself. Even if it's on paper, you're still flushing out these emotions and it's really healthy for you. Or, having a confidant, like a best friend, a safe person that you can process with in a healthy way, not in an unhealthy way, not in a codependent type way, but in a real healthy way. And a lot of people who have dealt with these psychological roots and who have started to put practices in place to be able to deal with these emotions, all of a sudden the pain would disappear. I've looked at certain research studies and I found it pretty astounding. And I thought it was necessary to really address this and point it out because I think that a lot of us deal with a lot of pains that are not necessarily physically restricted because of physical matters, but I think a lot of them are emotional and psychological matters and trauma and stress and things that we just haven't dealt with appropriately. And so I want to address that because you want to put together a plan where you're detoxing your emotions because we all have good days. We have bad days. We have okay days. They vary from one end to the next. But when you're having an accumulation of bad days, an accumulation of things that are happening in your life that are sometimes beyond your control. It's not like you can handle it. And that's why we really have to deal with this because stress comes in a way where we can't always control it. We can't control everything that's happening in life. We can control ourselves. We can control what we do with our bodies, what we do with our mind, how we make the decisions to talk to somebody when we need to talk to. Those healthy practices, those are the things that we can control. And so we want to get on top of making sure that we have habits and disciplines that can keep us as healthy and as well as possible. Now, I want to also address that these emotional issues and these rehearsing of thought patterns that are not being detoxed or that are not being dealt with, they also start to deteriorate the brain, the physical brain. And so the brain changes, the brain does not stay the same. And you can change your brain in a good way and you can change your brain in a bad way. For example, when people deal with a lot of trauma and they have not, or grief and they have not dealt with these certain things, again, that could be beyond their control, the brain starts to deteriorate. The brain can respond to that. And it's called neuroplasticity. It's just the brain has the ability to change. But the good thing about that is that when we do start to deal with these things and address them head on and make sure that we are doing the healthy things that we need to do to get everything back in alignment, it's like we have to recalibrate season to season, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. We have to recalibrate and bring things back into homeostasis, back into balance. And so when we start to do that, everything starts to come together. Our body starts to heal. Our brain starts to heal. And the pain starts to disappear a lot of times that we're experiencing from this. Again, it's just a detour. It's just our defense mechanisms that we've trained ourselves to have to be in survival mode. But it's time to come out of survival mode and really be intentional about these things because you want to make sure that you are living a high quality life. All right. If you enjoy this video, make sure that you like the video and that you subscribe to my page. I would really appreciate it. That's the best thing you can do for me. And I will promise to still get information out to you and continue to get health talks out to you that can really revolutionize your life.